Hey everyone, Tony D and Little Joan here. If you don't watch the president, like they put out these little videos of him, and he just off the top of his head he'll make these remarks. Uh, when he's going someplace or coming back from someplace, and I don't know if this is a warm up for him or what, but I'd just like to watch a little bit of it.
And we look forward. We have a big crowd. That was great. It was a great honor to be with Amy and the family, and it's going to have an amazing.
Oh, he's
future.
talking about
it's going to go quickly. I hope.
He just nominated this woman for the Supreme Court justice, and it should go quickly because the Republicans have the Senate. This is like a dream for the GOP. For those of you not in America, please understand that the Supreme Court is appointed for life, and for years the Democrats had always had usually most of the appointees, or at least the edge, over the last few decades. And because of that, a lot of things got pushed forward in terms of legislation in this country that probably wouldn't have survived court challenges had the Supreme Court been more right leaning or more center, really. And a big complaint from the GOP for a lot of years has been activist judges, that judges, they're activists from the bench. So this has been a huge get for the GOP here.
But I think she's got a great future. Brilliant. When the professor at Notre Dame, one of the most highly respected, said the best student he's ever had, that means something. And first in her class and all of that. So it's
and she's got
it's a
7
great honor.
kids.
Today was a big.
I mean,
a big
7.
Deal. I think it's very hard. I mean, I don't know how they can do it. The question was, do I expect any fireworks at the confirmation?
Well, yeah, of course.
I think it's very hard. She's, where? What could you say? The best student, best academically, great judge, great professor.
I just like how Trump comes off the cuff with everything. So, a lot of people say, well, Trump lies. He lies all the time. But these are very sort of, he just talks off the top of his head. That's why he gets into trouble so much.
The highest recommendations, right? So I think it's very hard for them to do it.
Also, keep in mind he has to remember all this stuff, right? So when you lie a lot, it's very difficult to talk off the top of your head because you have to remember the lies you told and make them consistent. So, he's used to doing this kind of stuff. He memorizes stuff. He's pretty quick. So obviously he knew what he was going to say to the reporters, or at least had a general sense of it.
How do you feel about a majority of Americans wanting to wait till after the election?
Well, I don't think they know Amy when they get to meet her and get to see her. But this is just something we have a lot of time.
I mean, I think it'll be approved
really
before.
Look, we don't have to do it before, but I think this will be done before the election.
Are over.
I think it'll send a great signal to a
Before
lot
the
of
election
people.
is over, certainly.
But she's outstanding, and
what you have to understand is the GOP wants this justice more than they want the presidency, than they want anything, because this is very permanent. Now, the Democrats are already making noise. Oh, we got to add more justices, and we got to set term limits, and blah blah blah. Yeah, none of that stuff, was talked about when they held the court, right? So this is pretty transparent. And the fact that they flip-flopped over this whole deal, Obama was in a similar situation, and they fought like hell to try to get the nomination, but they didn't control the Senate enough. But they screwed themselves anyway, because they changed the rules just to win. And that is short-term thinking. If they hadn't changed the rules, if it was 60 to confirm, they could start the process, but it probably wouldn't finish. It would be easy for the Democrats to jam it up. And Trump would be forced to appoint someone much more moderate, which he would do. He would appoint someone that closer to the middle, and he'd probably expect them to be completely rejected, and then he'd have like 3 or 4 more in his hip pocket. And he probably has others in his hip pocket too, in case somehow she doesn't get appointed. But the GOP, they want this
Glad
badly.
you could be there.
Very
so we're
badly.
going to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and it's going to be a lot of people there, and that's good. And I think we're doing very well. Thank you. We're leading in Pennsylvania. We're leading in Florida. I think we're leading everywhere.
I'm not sure what the noise is. I guess it's the helicopter in the background.
Well, he disagrees
But
with us
it's
on a
not,
couple of things. We'll see what's going
twirling.
on. But if you look at the
I
ballots,
guess they gotta keep the
they
engine
found
warmed up.
ballots in a garbage can, and they had the name Trump on them. They were cast for Trump, and they found them in a garbage can. They found many
they're
ballots,
talking about the
as you know,
mail-in
in a
ballot.
riverbed in a state, in a certain state. They had another case where 1,000 ballots were sent, but not single. They were sent double. So you
See, this is the way, again, I mean, you're getting real information from Trump because, again, he's just remembering this off the top of his head in order to lie. So, in other words, if some of this stuff was all made up, he'd have to remember all those details. And it's really tough to remember all those kinds of details. Like, if you've ever been in a play or, done a scene, it's really tough to remember everything.
You get to vote twice. This whole thing I've been telling you, this whole ballot scam is going to cause a lot of problems for our country. I want to see a very peaceful transition, but it's got to be a legal process. When you get thousands of ballots sent to people and they're double ballots where you get 2 votes, and that's just one of many problems. Go back and look at the Iowa primary.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. The mail-in stuff is going to be a mess. The absentee ballots are different because you request the absentee, and then there's a chain of custody, if you will, on the absentees. There's your request to get it, and then it comes back to you, and then you mail it in, and then they have a list of people who requested the absentee. If you're just going to mail everybody in the state, as they're doing in New Jersey, which has already had tons of problems with mail-in voting, it's going to be a disaster. But the Democrats know that. It's because they want to cheat.
Democrat primary. They still don't know who won. I mean, you look at it. It was a disaster using this system. And I don't think they know who won yet. Many ballots were missing. There was fraud. There was, look, we can't do this. And that was a relatively small number of people. We can't do this to our country.
He's right. I mean, it's not a reliable way, number one. I mean, they're making a bunch of noise. Oh, we got these special mailboxes, and they'll be very secure. How's that mailbox going to be secure? You were just complaining about the mailboxes being stolen by Trump, which wasn't even true, by the way. So it's going to be a disaster. The only reason that the Dems would do this is because they want to cheat. They know they're going to lose. And it's not even that their cheating is going to make them win. They're going to cheat enough so they can muddy the waters and say, well, see, Biden really won, but Trump stole the election. And, meanwhile, you got a guy like George W. Bush who actually stole the election. But the Democrats folded like a house of cards because they said to Al Gore, well, you're facing a hostile Congress anyway, just bow out and we'll take it back in 4 years. But of course, 9/11 happened, and then that didn't happen.
So we're going to see. We're going to watch it. We're watching very closely. The U.S. attorneys are watching. The attorney general's watching. The sheriffs are watching. Local.
So, yeah, I mean, that's one thing a lot of YouTubers are saying. If you have the ability to volunteer and be part of, the voting process in your area, to watch out, to count the ballots or whatever, you should volunteer, to keep the process as above board as possible. And keep your eyes out, too. I mean, if you see a big bag of mail somewhere, point it out.
Police is watching, and it's a very sad thing. Also, Bloomberg can't go to Florida and pay people to vote. He's paying.
Yeah, that's he's in trouble, I think, because he did that. I think a lot of people are going to be in trouble after this election because they think the Democrats are going to be desperate to cheat. They're going to think initially that they can cheat enough to kind of win or at least make it closer. And then when they realize how far they're behind, they'll abandon the cheating in a panic, leaving some people, holding the bag. And when they catch them, they're going to go after, the coordinators. Now, it'll never get up to, like, the real people in charge of the DNC. But you might get a few people. I mean, I think you might get some of the mid-level guys. And if you watch Project Veritas, they did an undercover thing on the DNC. Man, they were doing some scummy stuff.
He committed a crime if he does that. And he has done that. So, he understands that. So, that's it.
Getting ready for the debate. You're going to go on the attack against Biden at the debate.
I don't know. I'm going to go to the debate. Steve's just asking, will I go on the attack? I have no idea. I have no idea how he's going to be. He's always different.
He really doesn't.
Because he's on a different medication, I guess.
And Trump doesn't know what he's going to do because this is the way he does things. It's just sort of off the top of his head.
But he's always very different when he comes out. So I have no idea what's coming out. But I've been doing this for a long time. But he's been doing it for 47 years. I've been doing it for 4 years. It's a big difference. You're going to have to talk.
I can't even hear her question.
Well, that's going to be up to all of the justices. They're going to see. I never discussed that with Amy. This is something that, because it wouldn't be appropriate to discuss, they're going to have to make a decision, and that's going to be for the judges to say.
I think this is part of Trump's tactic to keep the media sort of like at his feet, so he can like give him little crumbs and then walk away. You watch. He's just going to walk away. He's just going to get bored and leave.
Confirmation hearing going to be on October 12th.
It looks like it. They'll be putting that out very shortly. Lindsey Graham will be putting that out very shortly.
He's about to wrap.
But it's going to go fast. We're looking to do it before the election. So it's going to go very fast. Thank you all. See you in Harrisburg. Thank you.
See? He just ends it. He's in total control. I don't think other presidents even did that. And I remember Bush doing it once, I think, outside the White House. Not in front of the helicopter, but somewhere else. And, he just kept getting dragged through it. Because he didn't do it very often. But he kept, being led further down the path by the questions. Trump, to me, strikes me as being total control. He knows exactly what he wanted the crumbs of information he wanted to give out, even though it was on the top of his head. He had sort of like an outline in his head. Okay, so we're going to talk about these 5 things. They're definitely going to ask me about 3 or 4 of them. The other ones I'll have to just, throw in. And I think it's just funny. He does this every day. If you haven't subscribed to the White House YouTube feed, and there's one in BitChute, you really should. But because it keeps you up, whether you believe Trump or not, it does keep you up on the news, at least, where the administration's going.